App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about how imagining it's done helps you actually move it forward. So what do I mean by that? The idea here is that you're basically imagining, okay, you have the whole thing finished, you're all ready, you're all excited, you're all, you're good to go. Now what? Right now what needs to happen? And so what's interesting here is that a lot of people will leave some of these smaller details for later, and they won't really consider them until they finally get there. But these smaller details are really what put the thing in motion, right? If you're like, oh well, once I actually get the thing done, well then I'll make my website, and then I'll get my SSL, and then I'll set up a support email, and then I'll set up this other thing, and then I'll start marketing, and then I'll start whatever it is that you'll do once it's done. If you do that stuff earlier, it's actually advantageous. Now, obviously, you can't do everything at once, and so, there's only so much time in the day. But the idea is that if you give yourself the thought exercise of, okay, it's done, now what? Pretend your technical issue is gone. Pretend that your technical issue is finished. And then from there, now you're actually asking yourself questions that can actually illuminate the path for you, and that can actually help your technical product be better. So what I mean by that is that if you kind of forget the technical problem for a second, you pretend that all of your technical problems are gone and it's time to launch. All these questions about like, okay, well, like who are you finding? How are you finding them? How are you telling them about your app? Right? The idea of customer acquisition is something that's often left too late, and it can get really expensive to acquire a new customer. Right, so if you are, trying to sell an app for, a $5 download or $10 download or something like that, but it costs you $50 to acquire a new customer, well, that's not really great. That means you're paying $50 and then they give you 10. Okay, well, that's not really fantastic. So thinking about it already being done and implementing like, okay, well, who do I sell it to? How do I sell it to them? Then you start asking yourself different questions about, well, what are you even selling? Are you even selling the right thing? Are you even going down the right path? Right? So maybe the idea is that you let's pretend you finish the thing, and then you're like, okay, well, I don't have an email list. Okay. And then you say, well, I don't have any social media following. Okay. Well, how are you going to tell the people? What are you going to do in order to tell the people? Either you need to have your own following where people already know that you're helping solve this problem. They're already in your sphere. You're already, helping them with related things, and the app is going to kind of be like an add-on for that. Or, you're podcasting, or you're making videos, or, whatever it is that you're doing, do you have a way to reach out to lots of people and tell them that this thing is done? And if you don't have that, then that is an integral part of the whole thing. Imagine for a second that you spend a bunch of money on a Ferrari, and then you realize, oh shoot, there are no gas stations within 1,000 miles of me. What am I going to do? Right? It's like you're thinking about the gas too late. It's like you're so focused on getting the Ferrari that you're not realizing that you actually need the gas to make it go. And that's a lot of the time what happens. And I, myself included, this definitely happened to me as well multiple times, when I didn't really understand the marketing part as well, that the customer acquisition issue is what leaves a lot of people dead in the water. And so if you bring up that customer acquisition issue earlier in the design of the software, you can consider customer acquisition. Then as you move forward, you are actually heading down the right path. You're designing it so that it can be marketed properly. You're starting your marketing at the same time you're building your system, and ultimately sometimes you want to start your marketing even earlier than that. That if you have a community, that asset of a community is really, really helpful in order to make the whole thing go, because then you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on ads getting the whole thing rolling. So as you do this thought exercise to kind of, forget about your technical problems for a second, because sometimes those can take up 100% of your vision, right? Technical, is this thing even possible to be built? How do I build it? What developer do I talk to? What system do I build? How do I make an app blueprint? There's like a million questions circling about, what am I even doing and how am I going to get to some sort of success in terms of a working product? But that's all stuff that can be figured out. Now, of course, people can go wrong, and people do go wrong and waste a lot of money. Well, that's really why I'm in the business I'm in, helping people with app blueprinting and making sure that they're solid with their plan. But the idea that, if you're not considering marketing from the get, if you're not considering how to build your list, who you're going to be reaching out to, how you're going to be speaking to them, what you're going to be saying, what the main value proposition is, how you're going to be able to attract them at the very beginning, what kind of problem you're solving, what kind of offer you're going to give them. This all is an integral part of success, and too often it's easy just to forget about it. So if you are kind of new to this whole world of, what is marketing? What do I do? You're coming to me probably because you're focused on the technical issue, which ultimately that's the main thing I'm trying to help with at this moment. But the more that I've now learned about marketing, the more I'm realizing that you can kind of blend these two together to enhance the technical part. That the more you understand the marketing part, it can actually help the technical part, and you end up then building the right thing, as opposed to spending money on something to get it working right, but then later realizing, oh my gosh, even though it's working right, nobody wants it. Nobody's going to drop what they're doing to pay for it. Nobody's going to drop what they're doing to sign up for a free trial of it, right? So that's the thing. You want to build the right thing, and if you don't consider the marketing angle, then you might end up actually planning the wrong thing, right? So as you're moving forward with app planning, app blueprinting, it's not just, okay, I've got some wireframes, let's, plan out what's on page 1 and page 2 and page 3. Now that's part of it, but that's not all of it. That there's a big part of like, who are we even talking to? Do they even want it? How can you get in touch with them? How can you get in touch with them efficiently? How can you attract them? How can you show up online so that when they're searching for stuff that they find you? Right? All of these pieces can be implemented from day one to basically prove the concept that yes, people are interested. Yes, people do want it. Yes, people really, really, really do want this kind of help, and they're ready to sign up for something right away, because as soon as you have come out with the real product, they're ready to go. So it's almost like you're filling up this dam of water. You build the dam first, then it fills up, and then when you're ready to unleash it all, then you're all set to go. So it's like if you build that dam at the beginning and you're catching all this water, then by the time you're actually ready to release, you've got this stored energy. You've got these people that are ready to go. You've got this kind of bank, all these people that are just raring to go, excited to use your thing. And that makes it so much easier to then launch, because then you're all focused on providing them a better experience. Who are they? What do they need? How do they need it? How do they consider it? All these things, if you know this stuff ahead of time, this is reading people's minds. This is reading people's minds by actually just talking to them. Hey, what do you need? Hey, if I built this thing, would you use it? Hey, how much would you pay for this? Hey, is this a big problem for you? Is this something you need to solve? Hey, how are you currently solving this problem? Hey, would you pay $50 a month for this? If you're getting people like, oh, I don't know if I'd pay $50 a month for that, or like, oh, I don't know if I would. If they're not even willing to pay $10 a month for it for sure, that's a really, really, really big red flag. If you're talking to people that are, potential customers, and you're saying, hey, yeah, it'll be like $10 a month, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I want to pay for that. Oh my gosh, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag for you. And isn't it advantageous then for you to know this at the beginning of the process, as opposed to once you've spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of time to put it together? That's what I'm saying here, is that by getting in those conversations, by kind of floating the idea of like, do you want this thing? Would you pay for it? Will you even pay for a pre-release, or will you pay? Will you pre-buy it? And getting that information from the get by pretending you're done with a technical thing and that you actually have to launch it to the world, then ends up kind of directing your attention in terms of what technical thing actually to build. It's guidance. It's gold information for you to succeed. So consider that. Thank you so much for listening. If you want help building your app blueprint, getting really clear on what you need to build, or if you if you're trying to kind of understand more about what your market needs or what market to serve, and you're thinking more about app marketing and just how to even do that stuff, get in contact with me. Send me a message at S.A.Playbook on Instagram, or if you go to instagram.com/S.A.Playbook, hit send message and get the conversation started. Thanks for being here. Talk to you tomorrow.